Edward VIII listened as the chief of the City of London Police outlined his plans for security with something approaching a dull interest. The King of England didn't really know why the man insisted on having so many rotations of guards about the location of the speech, but given recent events, Edward was inclined to listen. Whispers had reached Edward that the HMMLR intended to kill him at the speech. Something made it initially refused to believe. Surely, no group loyal to his niece would kill the reigning monarch. At the same time, a voice in his head asked, what if they were right? Edward hadn't got any sleep for days. Wallace had noticed and started fretting, only to make the whole affair worse. Edward had resolved not to have her present at the speech. That way, even if there was something did go wrong, she would not be in the line of fire. As for himself, well, as his brother had always been so fond of saying, he had a duty to attend to. Griselda had memorised every guard rotation. Sterling had insisted upon it. Alexander had gone over the evacuation route with her and gotten her to warn her brother and mother ahead of time. Once he'd got assurances that they weren't likely to turn traitor, the main thing that Griselda had worked on was her throwing skills. Where once she might have had all the skill of some toff fresh out of the bar, she now had at least a basic grasp of distance and the timing needed before she ran. She was ready, and Griselda clearly hoped that would be enough. So obviously in the real timeline, Edward and Wallace, who was an American divorcee, was quite a star when they wanted to get together, so he abdicated. I guess he's back. I wonder if he still abdicated, but was reinstated after the war. Oh, so we got a bunch of political power, which we should probably spend, because oh no, it's gone up now. That's nice. Let's try... Yes, we're okay. So let's try large gun shipment, why not? Oh, and let's actually start the next focus. I'm assuming... Yeah, we want to go to the side, that's good. One only need to look at the streets of London and see how ripe the city is for revolution. Like a bale of hay, only need a spark to set the entire house afire. The police are no problem. Those who aren't on our side will be dealt with by the ones who are. If they can't be bribed into staying back, of course. The crowds. That was something Bill's lads solved. Turns out, when you know half the unions in the country, you can get a few of them to turn out and act as a disruptive influence for a public event like this speech. With Sterling's lot acting as civvies to lead them, we ought to give the king a right surprise when he turns up for tea and biscuits, something his entire country will remember forever. Damn them. Who are you? You are the Einscheigspacht. Yeah, just a puppet. Puppet on a string. Need to make sure I play ball. Which I ain't gonna do. How is the world faring? Oh, we're all the way down to DEFCON 4, that's cool. Only one conflict at the moment. Good to see. Stable. I mean stable, living in a kind of Nazi hell, but stable. Helps the fire unpause the game, we actually get somewhere. Ah, promising report. Claude Auchinleck sat reading the report delivered to him by his spies. It'd be unprofessional to laugh, he thought, taking a sip of tea to mask the amusement he felt. It was kind of pained hilarity based on the report he was reading. The once great army of England had been reduced to a bunch of gibbering idiots who didn't know how to do much other than line up formation. Even that, according to the report in front of him, was done with some difficulty. You sure these reports are accurate? He asked the spy who delivered them. Yes, I was able to see the war games as they occurred, the spy replied. It was quite the showing. Poor sods could really march in formation. Auchinleck hummed as he sifted through the papers, taking yet another sip of tea. By all accounts, it seemed, the war games had been disastrous. A stunning display of English incompetence. The way things are, he mused, the English army wouldn't be able to put down a serious uprising. From what I saw, the spy chuckled, they could barely put down a crowd of hooligans, let alone an armed insurrection. Auchinleck frowned. The problem, as always, seems to be the Germans. They actually know what they're doing. There's only so many of them. The Cornish garrison doesn't have enough manpower to put us down by itself, the spy argued. Even if they're better trained, we can simply overwhelm them with sheer numbers. That's not the point, stressed Auchinleck. The Germans saw the exact same thing we did, and likely came to the exact same conclusion. You think the Germans are going to sit around and let the English army languish when they know we're out here and you're a fool? We need to be prepared. I wonder if there's it's probably super gamey. What would happen if I just deleted all their soldiers? Just like, nope, none of that. So we do have carrier, battleship, heavy cruiser, 6 lights, 50 destroyers and 6 subs. Let's throw in who have we got? Philip Vane, or well, let's go with Beardy Man. Don't think it would matter. But just for argument's sake, let's throw you on there. How's our... Who is it? Gone more into debt. What's our annual income? I don't know, actually we should be making money. Annual budget is 7.8 billion and we're spending like that. 6.5? There a economy tab, of course it is. Here we go. So our GDP is 50 and national debt's 40. Billion spending. Oh, what's this other expenditure? Okay, no, apparently it's terrible. A massive deficit. $4 billion. We're only using one factory, aren't we? Yeah. Well, let's not do that then. Let's stop building our boats. As in, we're not even going to be fighting these people anyway. Be nice. Not. I don't know what's going to happen with the debt and where we inherit it. But it's nice, maybe not to make things worse if we can help it. It's only going to save us like $1 billion, though, isn't it? Still going to be at 14. Was it? Yes, 7 billion deficit. Mainly other expenditures. That must be like social security and stuff. You can probably find in here. Yeah, there you go. Pensions. Do we have unemployment? No unemployment. Okay, so maybe it's just pension costs then. Healthcare. Lots of things. Cannot afford. But we will after the Glorious Revolution. Somehow. We'll have a revolution and make the Germans pay for it. I don't really know how we're losing fuel. We're not doing anything. Not what matters. A convenient illness. As Tim O'Flaherty sat on the couch with the telly turned to some children's show, he reflected that maybe he should take a day off work more often. Not every month or even every 6, but maybe once a year wouldn't do any harm. His daughters seemed ignorant of the fact he was watching them instead of their mother, and had busied themselves assembling the dollhouse he'd bought them with what he was telling Martha was a special bonus. And truth be told, it was a special bonus. It wasn't every day a man showed up at your door and offered you 500 quid to stay at home on a specific day. Tim wouldn't have acted on it, except for the fact he'd caught several of the younger constables chatting amongst themselves on the subject, and upon some discreet inquiries had even discovered his boss, the chief inspector, was taking the King's Speech off. Everyone was doing it. Why not him? You could think of a lot of things he'd rather do than stand out about in a line all day and watch the crowd riot. Something that was reinforced as his wife brought the tea tray on and set it on the table. Oh yes, no need to go into work today. Excellent. The King's Speech. The day has come. King Edward VIII of the House of Windsor may not be a well-liked man, but he is nonetheless the King of England. The speech will start at midday and go on for an hour or so before His Majesty attends a late lunch with some notable public figures. Of course, that assumes everything goes to plan. Both HMMLR and the government know something will occur, but exactly what happens is up to the will of God at this point. The coin of history tosses and turns in the air, and the face upon which it will land unknown by even those who threw it. Perhaps HMMLR will be correct in their assumption, but all the dry tinder needs is a spark. Or perhaps the government prepared well. Who can say? Only one way to find out. Bum ba bum. Menjiang is war with China. Where is that happening? Over here somewhere? Oh, I'm in the navy mode, that's why. Oh, the PR. No, not China. People. Okay. Oh, it's just like an uprising. Maybe? Or maybe they might start actually. Either way, I don't think we're too long for this world. But that matters to us not. Don't care of far-flung shores. Ah, excellent. Guns. How many we got now? 1600? Good, I presume. Don't know how many we need. Some tanks would definitely be nice. And decide if it's different models. I think it might be. They look fairly Second World War-y. I don't know. I rarely zoom in close enough to see the models when I'm playing HOI IV, to be perfectly honest. Negative power, I love it. Right, so this should also unlock ways of building more support in the country. A couple more days. The grenade toss had been almost perfect, landing amongst the people behind the king rather than at the traitor's feet. The result had been impressive nonetheless. The king had been hustled off unharmed, but his cronies hadn't been so lucky. Griselda had left London with help from Stirling's men and Alexander's smugglers and been taken north, deep into the north too, past Yorkshire at least if she was but to be any judge. It wasn't until Griselda entered the small house in the middle of nowhere that she realised what her actions had truly meant. The men with her talked about taking her to see the boss, and of the 5 people in the room, it was obvious who it was. It wasn't Bill Alexander, standing aside with a beer in hand, chatting with a thin gentleman's suit. It wasn't Stirling, catching the first bit of sleep he'd seen in days. It was a figure almost every English citizen knew, Member of Parliament Claude Auchinleck, a former general who'd been the last British officer holding his position at the time of surrender to Germany, a living legend in every sense of the word, and evidently the leader of Her Majesty's most loyal resistance. Griselda gave a salute as she entered, but he waved it off and invited her to sit. They talked for a long time about how the sacrifice of her civilian life was appreciated, how her family had been evacuated along with the rest of her cell, and about her future career prospects. HMLR had need of operatives to ferry communication between the cells that couldn't be trusted to regular couriers, and according to Auchinleck, she fit the bill perfectly. It's disappointing we didn't at least, injure the king. It'd been a good message. Death to traitors. Apparently God was fond of the king that day. Ooh. So now we should have all new tree. Cool. So this is obviously a purely a resistance focused tree, and by the looks of it we have to choose 3 ways of going about it. Look at those after this one. Auchinleck, Alexander and Stirling. The first is a name not known by too many, aside from as a curiosity being the last general standing when the call to surrender was sounded. The second is probably the best known by the general public, one of the few rebels to escape Cable Street, and a constant reminder of dark times. Stirling is known only by those who hunt him, those who still live. Together they represent HMLR, an organisation dedicated to as many causes as members have political leanings, but undeniably united in desire for a free England, one free of tyranny, free of traitors and free of Germans. Partnership is one conceived, one of convenience, but all involved intend to see it out till the end, until the collaborationists are defeated or they've died trying. So now, now we can push some of these. So we can do propaganda campaigns, which increase support. So this is a flat support gain. We can increase the trend. Sounds sensible. Or we can invest and increase the stability. Let's get... It's cost me 10 guns. Oh, right, well let's start getting these things trending in the right direction. I do more? I have lots of guns. Expand all the cells in. Well, in everywhere, really. If we can't get some support ticking. I don't know if this is the right thing to do, but damn, that's what we're going to do. Then I would like to see if we can't make these much more stable. Get our more chance of getting guns in and getting those special armoured vehicles. So let's go for this. That's a fair whack of guns we just spent, but we've still got loads. Is there any reason not to? Well, yes. Okay, you can do one state per month. Alright, well, one job per month per state. Cool. Pushing that, and then if we ever get political power, we can do some more of these. Nice. See. Oh yeah, we can see there's a trend ticking. Good. Ooh. Claude Auchinleck looked at the table and saw a motley crowd of men, all of them holding beliefs and ideologies that would otherwise make them utterly incompatible with one another. But they were the men who would fight and die together to see the Nazis removed from England. They were Claude's own HMLR forces, men who joined up with him from inside the collaborationist government. They sat on the reformist wing of the royal party, but secretly pledged their lives when the time came to establish a new, free England under Her Majesty Elizabeth II. Two most influential members, Enoch Powell and George Jellicoe, joined him today. There was also his allies in the SAS. David Stirling had never stopped fighting the Hun, and he had no intent on doing so as long as he still drew breath. He gathered a powerful and skilled force, strong enough to go toe-to-toe with any unit in the Wehrmacht or collaborationist army. His forces had an extreme hatred for anything collaborationist and wished to drive them out even more than Claude did. He was accompanied by Arthur Harris, who was organising what he ominously called a little present for Jerry. And finally, the left resistance. Born out of the ashes of Cable Street, this new organisation was a coalition of surviving communists, Labour members and other hard leftists under the leadership of Bill Alexander. Despite being a staunch communist, Bill had brought in the more moderate Harold Wilson to solidify his standing with the Social Democrats. He was even willing to collaborate with HMMLR. Somehow, stomaching working alongside this rabidly anti-communist Stirling. Claude looked at these faces one last time before he began to speak. The bombing attempt on Edward had failed, but a far bigger blast for the collaborators was in store. Here's our next move. Right, decision time. We can go with Stirling, where we go SES terror bombing. So this is a kind of pretty violent approach. Staying north. Let's take in the Midlands. We can go with Claude. What's he want to do? Our speak out some volunteers, and we decide to stay in the north. We've got communists who want to push to the south. Culture Lanarkshire, win the Wingate, and then go moving south. Well, and I don't know if these will have any effect on the outcome at the end of it, in terms of who has the most power, in terms of where we become the kind of Reformed Royalist Party, or if we end up being more left-leaning. I think we don't have any manpower. 10 support in Midlands, 10 support, and 15 stability. That's in the ones we've already got, though. A little bit of support in a lot of places. Nah, I see we're gonna go. Let's go for Sterling's method, shall we? Let's go be old gung-ho about it. And that means just require one of the following. Cool. Alright, let's go down this way. Most of HMLR didn't want to get involved in the shady stuff. Can't blame them. It's all horrible work. Bombs in traitors' car, men with guns waiting in unfortunate buggers' rooms at night. Makes a gent feel a bit dishonourable, really. Still, they sold us out to the Germans, so it's not as if they didn't earn it. The Reds do the same, if we're honest, but they have to learn it. Cable Street killed all their best, and even the bloody Red General can't make new soldiers from thin air like he can everything else. Sterling taught us the fight was dirty from the start. Give no quarter, receive none. Fight till you're dead and then some more. Makes killing a dozen at dinner any less honourable than 1,000 on a battlefield. Right. So, I'm not so sure. Should we be promoting terrorism? I'm pretty sure all terrorists think their cause is a righteous one. Whoa, well, we could end up in some serious deep debates if we're not careful. We shall avoid that. So, can we do more of these? No. Must have to wait till May. Okay. Government's planning something. Oof. Don't like the sound of that. They're doing it everywhere as well. Damn them. Interesting little tug of war. What have they done? Really interested to see what. So they have wiped out, not everywhere, most of our trends. Oh, I have that one. Ooh, ooh. Okay. Alright, so it's a little bit of fight and counter fight. I can get behind that. What, a day in my life? Oh, chuff me, is this going on telly? Right, well, I suppose you don't want what I eat for my breakfast, do you? Marmite and toast, if you do need that. Anyway, it works, right? Decent pay, not too difficult. I have no idea, by the way, what accent I'm trying to do. Whatever it is, I'm sure it's wrong. See, when I was getting trained in that, they all said MPs work straightforward. You just gotta keep your eye out, keep your voice steady when you're speaking, and know where to grip a drunken sod when you're dragging them back to barracks. Ah, do you know, I read that as Member of Parliament, not as military police. It makes a lot more sense why he's somewhat poorly spoken. Could do with shorter hours though, don't get me wrong, I'm not complaining. My brother's here too, but assigned to one of the rougher districts, that dog. Lost his pinky to a ribble even. Still got all mine. The interview, he spent several moments wiggling his pinky to our reporters before being prompted to continue. Yeah, sorry. You lot probably want me to get right into why of it, huh? Why I joined the MPs. Why I stand with the government. It's really because of Mary. That's me wife, bless her. See, when the Krats invaded us first time, my dad was a soldier. Mum, pregnant with my sibling that never got to be, ended up getting bayonet to belly during all the reprisals. I hate the Germans as much as any lad in HMMLR. We ain't gonna win another war with them. I'm not gonna put Mary at risk, rebels be damned. I'm not looking for a wife kebab, no thank ye. When I see all my old friends and colleagues spitting me as I walk down the street, I can ignore them. Mary's worth it. Scrawled under the heading, A Day in the Life of a Yorkshire Military Policeman in bright red pens are the words, rejected. Find someone coherent for the Day in My Life TV campaign, else we'll just have the propaganda ministry make something up. But what does he eat for lunch and dinner? So I know he's supposed to be from Yorkshire, and I sounded nothing like Yorkshire, so apologies to all you I've just had blank what you call people from Yorkshire. Anyway. All stress. On May. I want to do some more of these initiatives. Got the guns to spare. Get the support. Alright, so let's reverse this trend and reverse this trend and continue to improve the stability. Here let's do that. Just keep going with this little tug of war for now, I think. I don't know how long it lasts, to be honest. Why can't I do this one? Must be slipped behind. Come to that in a moment. Let's that and you're already. Let's go. See if we can't push all these into the positive. Let's see if we can't make some large changes here. Cool. On a crisp and quiet morning, MP Howard Trobby put a key in his car ignition to go to work in the House of Lords. Now this is a Member of Parliament. I know that much. Not a second later, he was engulfed in a horrific fireball. As our brave London officers descended on the quiet suburb of Bexley, the remnants of the attack painted a vile picture. 4 people were killed by the massive explosion, including Trobber's recently hired groundskeeper. Across the street laid a dark beret with a winged dagger, leaving no question as to involvement of the SAS in this evil attack. Months of heavy crackdown on the rebels had not halted these disgusting acts of violence. With them becoming so frequent, Londoners are beginning to refer to them as dinner bell bombings. There's no question that we are in a struggle for all that is good and moral on these isles. If we do not decisively move to cut off the head of the terrorist snake, then the murder of innocent men and women will simply become a fact of life. Smoke them out. So, yeah. Somewhat regretting my decision to go down the bombing route. Even if Howard Trobert was a valid target, you know, 4 innocent people just caught in a crossfire. That's not really how you want to do war. Right, these should all be doing something. Let's check I've not missed one. And indeed I have not. Oh, focus. So we can do a couple of tongues. Yeah, it's this one. Get us lips, sink ships. That was what the government told us before they turned out to be traitors anyway. Still, that particular nugget of wisdom applies now more than ever. Half the reason the Reds failed at Cable Street is that their comms lack sophistication. Compromised months before the showdown, and the traitors were waiting with guns at ready when the revolution began. Sterling isn't the nicest boss, but he knows what's what. You don't just catch the spies and throw them in the sea anymore. You've got to find out what they told the traitors first. They don't want to talk? Well, we might not be elegant in our means, but we don't know how to make a lovely example. Are we sure? Are we sure the collaborationists are the bad guys? What's this going to do for me? An all-round attack boost. That's cool. Oh no, it's fire control for ships. Probably let's just push down some of these things. Where are we? 62. Anything we really want? Wow, our tech is outdated. Alright, let's research some infantry weapons. I suppose it makes sense, because we don't have to actually build anything. What can we do? Newcastle. Ah. El Governmente is up to his old tricks again. Interesting that's gone contested at 30%. Oh yeah, they're both 30. It must just be just north of 30 it goes. Okay. State of the nation. June again before we do another round. Press down a couple other one of these. Oh wow. Dirtiest. Oh, we put those on. One people's hate still firing away. Yeah. You're not in a good place. Rest of the world seems to be doing okay. Still staying pretty steady. Stable. Mission cards. No focus. That's interesting. Italy's got a tree. Around the Luftwaffe. Oh, drawn in Germany. What? Ah, oh, support. Okay, push it up. Who dares wins? David Stirling and Arthur Harris have ensured that the rebellion's forces will not lack for elite troops and tactical advantages. Bright spot in a group characterised as a ragtag bunch of untrained rebels and paramilitary units. Their SAS have been feared by the Germans and collaborators alike for many years. A recent unveiling of their own air force has certainly caused a great deal of consternation amongst the enemy. They have many other tricks up their sleeves, and they promise will save England, but their effectiveness remains to be seen. Oh, so we've knocked us down in some of our core states. Wanted to change that. Matilda knew it was wrong to point. Every day there was an article about another man arrested for inhuman acts, like kissing his best mate in the showers, which happened a lot in Brighton. It's all interesting because historically, actually, Brighton's a very kind of a hot spot of liberal-leaning people. That's probably a really condescending way of saying it, but anyway. No matter. She couldn't see anything inhuman about it, but her parents constantly complained about the homophiles at the dinner table. It had been 2 months since she and Olivia began snogging behind the bike sheds. Not before talking, of course. Talking about how they'd run away together, escaped to America, live in a big city far away from his town, and where everyone lived grey lives. There was no place for them in England. The bell rang, jolting her from her worn hazel orbs and soft pink lips. As everyone walked out the door in unison, Matilda trailed behind. He waited by the wall for the other students to leave. The coast was clear. Matilda snuck round to her secret meeting spot, where she caught a subtle sobbing. Olivia was sitting against the wall in almost fetal position, her face nestled in her legs. "Olivia?" Matilda whispered. Olivia sniffed. "I'm scared." Matilda kneeled down by her and pulled her love into an embrace. "Why is that?" she asked gently. At least she hoped she asked gently. "My dad, he went on and on last night about the homophiles. Olivia sniffed, rubbing tears from bloodshot hazel eyes. "I'm scared we won't be able to stay together. I'm so scared." Matilda had never seen Olivia like this, so utterly small and scared. It was just the only thing keeping her stable in her miserable and dull life. She just... "I love you, Olivia, and I'll always be with you." "Love you too." Oh, so obviously, historically, we weren't quite as against homosexuality as perhaps the Nazis were, but they were still faced some pretty horrific persecution post-war era. Yeah, really. We kind of claim ourselves a beacon of democracy and liberal thought, and yet we're still fining people and arresting people for being homosexual. Ridiculous. But at least we are past all that now, or at least the government's past all that. I'm sure, unfortunately, our elements of society are not. But I digress. So, Battle of Portman Road. Supposedly all started with a spilled pint. For a long time, Burnley FC fans had pushed the limits of what would be considered acceptable, even for English football. More than once, policemen with truncheons had chased out fans holding God Save the Queen banners and flying the pre-war English flag. The beer dumped on officers and the shoves they encountered trying to catch these unruly hooligans was all in good sport, but as the Premier League finals approached, things started to get nastier. The flags flew higher, the chants were louder, the pushes turned to punches. Everything would have been fine had Ipswich Town FC managed to win, and the club, and most of the town, were known to support the government, come what may, and a thrashing might have shut the Clarets up for a good couple of months. This was not to be. A long pass down the field by Angus allowed for Walker to cross over to Harris, a Burnley ferret and a winking HMMLR supporter. This last pass would forever be debated among football circles. Was it offside? Well, if it hadn't been Harris that scored, were the refs secret HMLR supporters, or paid off by resistance members? But as Harris jumped across the field in victory after the goal, none of it mattered to the Burnley fans. And shortly after the roars died down, the chanting sorters, "Crouch, crouch, wherever you be, right off to your own country." Shortly after, the two sections soon crashed against each other, red against blue, in a maelstrom of disorganised violence. Fans poured out in the field or were thrown over the stands. By the time order had been restored, the match was cancelled, 2 were dead, and dozens more seriously injured in what everyone known as the Battle of Portman Road. Just the Ipswich Stadium. Unruly times. Right, we need more support. Give support, please. I've got a little bit of trending going on in a few places. Oh, that's bad. We need to sort that right out. Right. Let's need to invest there. We need to probably just expand these two back up to being blue. East Anglia. Here, oh, let's arrest that slide. Let's go all in on the slide there, and let's just kind of push these. Maybe push these 3. Just the spawning of cells, and then we see we get some creep. Some of these southern ones. You're a bit of a 50-50, aren't you? We'll try that. You seem to. I mean, you're a lost cause essentially. London. I'd like to get more. Bit of a trend going in London. And sure, we'll try a trend here. Why not? I want to do more stability, but almost can't afford it. Well, that's another month done anyway. How's our guns looking? 1250. Relations are low. Oh, we have points. Well, let's do this, and we'll do that. Even we're gaining points. I'm trying to keep you happy, but I don't have the points to make good relations. I wonder if the bottom of this one we go down to an actual outright rebellion. Oh wow, the Revolutionary Council has won. Communists win the Civil War. Interesting. There you go, it was a civil war.